All right, friends, today we're going to take a look at this beautiful blue anodized amplifier from Boland Audio, but first we have to unbox it so we can see what's in the box, even though you just saw it. My brother Eddie bought this from him on Facebook. Let's get it out of the box. There you can see Boland Audio, beautiful blue finish, and here is hello, valued Boland Audio customer. Thank you for buying this amp and actually getting it. We'll talk about that later. There were several different models of the SQ series. Not all the ones shown here were actually ever made. The SQ250 was never made as far as I know. There was a t-shirt. This is the only thing I ever bought from Boland Audio. If it was too loud, then you're too old. There's several different models. Here's the SQ2150. Here's another SQ2150. This is the A version. And I actually have a video of this one. I'll leave a link in the video description if you want to see this particular amplifier tested. But if you notice these amps and know the name Boland, Bernie Boland was working at Orion way back in the day. In fact, I think he started Orion with somebody else. And this is an old HCCA 225 from back in the day. The original. Here's a little bit newer one. You can tell the anodized, they got a little bit better in the early 90s than they did from the 80s. And yeah, this is one of my favorite amps ever. The 225 HCCA is definitely one of the top ones. I've done probably a dozen videos on that amp itself. Now also in the box here was an invoice from Tips where there was some repair done to this amplifier. This thing was brand new and it needed work. And this is unfortunately not abnormal from Boland Audio amplifiers. A lot of them came off to customers back in 2018, 2019 when they were sold and they just didn't work right. This is the SQ250, 50 watts in the 4 ohms, 100 watts by 2 in the 2 ohms, or 200 watts bridged at 4 ohms. There's all the other ratings. You can pause it if you want to see that. Overall, this thing is just beautiful. I mean, the blue anodized finish, the billet aluminum, polished aluminum, it is just over the top slick looking. And here it is on one end of the amp, and we'll talk about each of the different options we have here. You see the remote connection there for remote turn on the amplifier. There's a turn on overvolt and overtemp light. There's a plug, Weco plug for your power and ground, and also a 30 amp fuse. That's the ATC style. And we'll do a fly over here so you can see it closer. Just beautiful. I'll pull off this end panel in a minute so you can see it. On the opposite side, we have the speaker outputs, which I'll show here closer up. You see it uses the same Weco style connector as the power plug. Beside that is a phase jumper that goes from negative to positive, and I'll talk about that when we get to the bridging. And also we have the left RCA, which is yellow like video color. Not sure what's up with that. The input gain is via a volume style potentiometer. Then we have the right RCA, which is also yellow video color. We have the right phase jumper, and then we have another Weco connector there for the positive and negative of the right speaker terminal. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of these Weco style connectors. They were used in PPI amps and Orion amps in the late 90s, early 2000s, but especially for the power and ground, because you'll see when we put the connectors in there, they get very close to touching. But I know I use it here. I guess they use it here because it was just simple to set up the amp that way. But you can see there's 2 for output, 1 for power. Obviously, the 2 for output, it doesn't matter, but they just say output on them. Those will be for your speaker outputs. The other will be for power. And the amp itself, just again, gaze at the beauty you can see here on the top of the amp. It says limited edition Boland Audio SQ250, 2 ohms 50 watts per channel at 0.009 THD. On the bottom, it shows all the different connections. It gives the website address, which actually went straight to a Facebook page, which is no longer available. It's not even on archive.org, so I couldn't pull it up. Proudly made in the USA. There's a serial number there on the back. And again, overall, this amplifier is just over the top as far as the quality of construction. Other than the stupid RCAs that are yellow, why don't we use Tiffany style? And why didn't they use the right gain control in the beginning? They actually had to change that. It's one of the things that needed to be swapped out, how it needed to be repaired because they were not correct. But take off the 6 machine screws here on one end and pull off this billet aluminum panel and check it out. I mean, this just exudes quality. Really over the top. The SQ250 back in the day, these sold for $300. I know some people bought them and never got them. And that's another part of the story, which I will leave a link in the video description If you guys want to watch the 12 volt talk episodes where we interviewed Bernie in one episode and the next one we talked about them going out of business. There's a lot of controversy about it. But now we have the amp all wired up and fired up. So we're going to have to put it on the amp dyno to find out what kind of power it puts out, because I know y'all are curious. If you haven't seen these tests before, on the left you'll see the power output in watts. In the middle, the ohm load. On the right, we'll see the voltage of the dyno. We'll also have the clamp so that we can estimate the amplifier's efficiency. Ready. First up, we have the amp hooked up in the 2-channel mode. We're going to, of course, try it at 4 ohms where it's rated 50 watts by 2. They don't give a voltage specification. I put 14.4 there. But anyway, let's try it here. Certified up to 1% distortion, 1 kilohertz track. And yeah, we get that 50 watts easily, 62 and 64 at 14.26. Since I know you're going to ask, let's go ahead and turn that voltage down closer to 12 volts. Let's try this test again. Certified 1 kilohertz, 4 ohms at 12 volts. And yeah, we don't get that 50 watts. We get 41 and 39, so about 40 watts average per channel. Next up, we're going to try the dynamic test. We don't do the uncertified test. You'll see why when I show the results. But here we go. Dynamic test. We're getting about 66 watts per channel at 14.34 volts. Next up, we're going to try the 2 ohm stereo load. 100 watts by 2. Again, voltage not specified. We'll assume 14.4. Let's try it certified here. Up to 1% distortion at 1 kilohertz. And just a little bit shy, 106 and 89. It's interesting to see the difference there in the channels. That really isn't much. But let's turn it down. That's right. Crank that voltage down to around 12 volts. And let's try it again and see how much power we get. And wow, it's a big difference. 59 and 57, so about 58 watts per channel average at 2 ohms with 12 volts. Dynamic test, 2 ohms, 1 kilohertz. Can we get both channels over 100, please? Channel 2 is straggling. We got 115 and 98. So I have the amp connected here at 2 ohm stereo. I'm going to power it up. And look how interesting it is to see how much current. The idle current goes way up at 2 ohms. So watch this. We'll go back, set it to 4 ohms, and our idle current drops way down. So let's go back and try 8 ohms. And the idle current drops even more. I don't know that I've ever seen an amp do that before in all the ones I've ever tested. So let's go back one more time to 2 ohms and watch this. Look at it, it jumps way up. Crazy. I know it may be difficult to see here, but there's jumpers. There's one here and one here, like the old computer style jumpers like you'd use on an IDE drive. What you have to do in order to bridge this amp is we have to make 1 minus and 1 plus. Right now they're both on plus, and then we use positive leads from both of the speaker outputs to bridge the amp. So let me go ahead and set that up and then we'll try it bridged. I hate these stupid connectors. Whoever thought they were a good idea. Oh gosh, they're so tight. Okay, so we got these off, so we're gonna put both on the positive leads, like I said, and we're gonna switch one of these. Doesn't matter, I think this will be easier because it's got a pull tab on it. So I'm gonna move this one over to minus. We'll have one of the channels inverted. It's gonna be difficult for me to film this with my fat fingers in the way, but let's go ahead and remove this. Slide it over one. And then we have these connected only to the positive. So we'll go ahead and get these back into the amp, which will probably take 2 hands because these things are so freaking tight. Okay. Now the amp is bridged. Let's try it out. Since we're ready now, let's try the bridge mono test. We're going to try 4 ohms. We're going to use 40 hertz for the track for these because we're assuming that if you bridge the amp, you don't use it with a subwoofer, even though it's only 200 watts. Let's try it certified here at 40 hertz. What do we get? Close, 194 at 14.22. Next, we will reset the dyno here for the uncertified test, which will take us up to the clipping point of the amplifier. Let's see if we can bust that 200 watts. You think we can? And yes, we can. 218, 14.16. We are slapping the power from this Class AB retro throwback Boland audio amp. Dynamically, look at this, 221. Slapping down them numbers. 222, 223, 224, 225, 14.35. Here are all the results now. 8 ohms, 4 ohms, 2 ohms, all stereo. I didn't show the 8 ohm test here, but you can see that and see the efficiency numbers as well. Also, we did 8 ohms and 4 ohms bridged. You can see the results here. If you want to see 2 ohms bridge, you have to stay to the very end of the video because I might just show you. Now next up, let's try it with some speakers. Even though you can't really tell over the sound quality here on YouTube, I'm still going to do it and play it, and so you can listen with your headphones. See what you think.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly.
There was no turn on thump or turn off thump with this amp. But let's take the bottom panel off, which has 10 machine screws that hold it on. And here are the internals. That's where those machine screws go in. Very nice, again, very quality. And we'll do the flyover here so you can see the internals. And then we're going to take a closer look by doing a closer flyover because we know you guys really want to see it. You can see some names in there. Boland Audio, designed by Bernie Boland. You see the capacitors and see some other LEDs and things. Capacitors from Nippon Chemicon. These are good quality, 35 volt, 2200 microfarad. You can see the Boland Audio there on the circuit board. Also proudly manufactured in the USA, Boland Audio there at the top left. Also designed by Bernie Boland. And then we can see some op amps. This is the OPA style op amps. These are pretty nice from what I was told. And we also have the NE 5534s. These are decent op amps, not the best, but also not the worst. On the power supply side, our FP 1405s. I also thought it was interesting that all the what the heck screws here were actually SAE. They were 7/64ths in size. It's very odd that they don't use metric, but maybe Bernie did this just to make everything more American, I take it. Here are the 2N6491Gs for the transistors. Then we have the 2N648588. Can't see the number. Anyway, let's move on to the pros and cons. Talk about what I like, what could be better. Build quality, over the top. Anodized finish looks super nice. Straight sound quality, no crossovers or anything built in. It is rare and unique. They did have different colors of these, but not many people actually got them, so I'm not sure how many were totally made. Things that could be better, they required repairs, a lot of them, straight out of the factory. The Weko speaker and power plugs are absolutely not my favorite. The video RCA jacks, can we at least have red and white? Anyway, availability, yeah, good luck because, there were several of these that were sold that were never delivered. So the only way you're going to be able to find one of these is on the used market, somebody who wants to let it go. And anyway, there's a lot of custom ones of these made, different colors. There's purple, there were black, there were all different kind of colors and designs. But I thought it was neat. When I saw this one pop up, I thought it would be cool enough to make a video about it and just kind of hold on to it because this is a small amp. It doesn't have a lot of power, but it's very unique, and it was during a special time in car audio when, bringing back the old school didn't quite work out. Company just kind of went out of business. But anyway, thank you guys always for watching. Till next time, Big D, I'm out of here. Don't try what I do at home, but let's try 2 ohms bridge mono. That's 1 ohm per channel. We get 267 at 40 hertz, 14 volts. So a little bit more than 200 watts. Uncertified up to clipping. We had to be careful because not to pop that fuse. 292 watts, 13.99. We pulled 42 amps. Dynamic. Sent a dynamic tone into the amp here. Over 300, 324 at 13.91. And real quick, we're going to show you the temperature of the heatsink. It never got very warm at all. Only in the 90s Fahrenheit. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Big D, I'm out.